mga kaibigan at Happy New Year! Happy 2023! Welcome to In My Toolbox, of course, a weekly talk show for your personal finance here at PHLV Radio. The goal of this show, mga kaibigan, is to give you financial information that you may be able to use on your day-to-day financial decisions. We will, of course, unbox topics that hopefully will be able to guide you, aid you, and maybe even add to your financial tools. Mga kaibigan, we will tackle important information mostly not taught in school, but of course, is much needed to empower you financially. As usual, mga kaibigan, ako na naman po, inyong host. My name is Enrico Pobre. Ayan, dito lang po sa In My Toolbox. You know, I'm your host. I'm a sales marketing trainer. And of course, an entrepreneur and a financial professional. So, in any case or in any idea that will transpire in this show, always consult with your financial advisors, insurance professionals, and tax consultant. Of course, mga kaibigan, if you would want to talk to me or connect with me, just, Google my name, Enrico Pobre. You will find a lot of ways on how to connect with me, or simply, you can Google me. You can email me at enrico.inmytoolbox@gmail.com. Alright, mga kaibigan, syempre, New Year 2023. Wow, this is the first show of In My Toolbox this year, 2023. So probably what we're going to talk about, most of you may be listening today or tonight, you're talking about New Year's resolution. Oh my God. A lot of people definitely will be, or may have started the New Year's resolution, their New Year's resolution already. But just for right now, probably what I can help you out with on the financial side is creating a budget. So let's talk about, budgeting. Because this is very, very important tool. You probably heard about the word budget, and probably you already know the importance of this over the years. Maybe your personal finance teacher when you were studying it in high school, in basic finance, maybe, or maybe your parents. You see them, working on some financials for the family, every Saturday morning, or my dad, he does it every night, So really, the question here is, what really is a budget? So we're gonna be, just giving a good idea of what budget is all about. Well, a budget is very simple. It's a written plan. So ibig sabihin, you have written it. You should be writing it. Well, nowadays you use computer, but just for this conversation, so it's a written plan for your money. So that's simple enough. You have a plan for your money. That's how it is, Well, even though it's so simple, I think it's easier said than done, because when you start planning on your budgeting, not only that you're planning, but you have to commit to doing the plan. The writing the budget, executing the budget every single month, and with intentionality. You have to really do it with intentions. You have to do it with a purpose. And again, when you do that, it's actually going to get easier. Well, when I was growing up, or maybe you guys have been growing up, you probably have thought of, when you hear the word budget, oh, that's just for the older people. So, okay, when your parents will tell you, hey, you start budgeting. It seems that, you the people who tells you about that, especially the parents, right? They're reining on your spending. When you go to watch the movies, what's your budget? You already watched the movie last week. So, after all, guys, as I was growing, my parents will tell me, money doesn't grow on trees, So, well, here's actually the truth. A budget actually gives you permission to spend. That's the truth. Because when we were growing, when you say, oh, you have to budget, para bang it's stopping you to spend. Hindi naman. It's actually the other way around. Budget is actually giving us, you and me, permission to spend. Ganun naman talaga yon, di ba? Well, probably this is shocking enough to hear. What? You're talking about budget? Tapos you're gonna be letting me spend. Well, that's actually the truth, because instead of seeing budget as a list of things of what you cannot spend, think of it that budget is just a guide of what you can and cannot spend. So you need to look at your money. Like again, last time I told you about gamification. So maybe budgeting, you can gamify it. Or these items I cannot spend on. These items I can spend on. Because you are dealing with your hard-earned money, and this spending money, or you're spending every dollar of your hard-earned money, and you just don't want to go it in a waste. So that's the reason why, guys, budget gives you the opportunity to make a plan and spend your money on things that you really care about. And of course, things that are very, very important. So most people need some way of seeing where their money is going each month. Ganun po ba kayo? Are you actually looking at where your money is going every month? Because that's where budget comes in. It can help you feel more in control. That's actually the key word here, guys. We want things to be in control. But syempre, the word control is kind of tricky because you can control on spending, or you can choose not to control in spending. Kaya it's kind of tricky. Pero syempre, at the end of the day, you would want to feel in control of your finances. And of course, by doing such, it makes it easier to save money for your goals. So the trick here is to figure out a way to track your finances. That will actually work for you. So this is the things that I would want to talk to you guys. How we could actually create budgeting. Number one, siguro we can talk about, there's nothing to talk about budget if you don't have an income. Right? So what you might want to think of right now is probably you would want to calculate your net income first. Again, the word here is to calculate. The second word here is the net, okay? After taxes, so net income, So the foundation of an effective budget is actually based on net income. It just means that, again, let's talk about net income. It's your take-home pay. So the total wages or the salary that you get minus the taxes and whatever the employer provided, benefits or programs such as retirement plan or your health insurance, Medicare, you would see them on your pay slip, right, guys? So what's your take home pay? That's the real goal there. So you calculate what's your take home pay. At the end of the day, after the deductions of all of these things, what's your take home pay? You need to calculate that. That's your net income. So when you look at it, focusing on your total salary instead of net income, nako, mali na. It will actually lead you to overspending because you're looking at a budget or an income, basing your budget in an income, that all of these deductions are not included yet. So at the end of the day, logic will tell you, you will end up overspending. That's just basic, right? So if your gross income is $10,000, but your net income is $6,000, and your budget is actually, your list of expenses is going to be $10,000, definitely you overspent already $4,000 because your take-home pay is only $6,000. I think that makes sense, right? So you have to think, what's the available money that you can actually work with? So if you're, like, for example, if you're a freelancer, especially here in Las Vegas, there's a lot of freelancers here, or a contractor or a self-employed. You also make sure that you keep detailed notes of your contracts and of course not only the contracts and of course the money that you get out of it, in order to help manage irregular income, because of course, guys, all of us, probably you guys that are listening right now, not all of you are employees. It's actually harder when you're self-employed or yung very erratic ang irregular ang income. You need to actually understand what's the minimum income that you can put in, and you can actually work around that number. Otherwise, you'll end up overspending, or otherwise you'll end up in debt. So again, the key here, guys, is to calculate your net income. Right now, if I may ask you, do you know your net income? Okay. So the other thing too that I can teach you guys on how to create a budget is by tracking your spending. I think I mentioned this one the last show about spending habits. But now I'm gonna talk to you guys about to track your spending, because once you know how much money you have coming in, the next thing is to figure out where it's gonna go. Just that makes sense, diba? So you know how much is gonna come in. A while ago, as an example, you think that you have $10,000, but the net income, really, the take-home pay is actually only $6,000. So you know the budget. You cannot exceed $6,000, right? So that's how much money coming in, not the 10,000, but the $6,000. That's how much money coming in. So the next step is to figure out where that 6,000 is gonna go. Di ba? So that 6,000 is gonna go where? Oh, by the way, guys, if that's your problem, send it my way. Joke lang. So you would want to know where it's going. So we already identified and calculated the net income, $6,000. Now, where is that 6,000 gonna go? Tracking and categorizing the expenses that you have can help you determine what you're spending the most, where you're putting the money most, and where it might be easiest to save. So, every year, especially now, I'm going to start pulling all my statements again and study every spending that I did for the year. And I will actually be able to see my spending habits, In fact, some banks even give you those reports that which or what on your spending, which category that you spend most. They will actually categorize it for you. But for me, I do it every month in, month out for the past year, right? So you would see me doing this every day, because it's a long process, but I do that really, literally. I look at my expenses, and after the 12 months, guys, this is what I'm gonna look at. This is how my face is gonna look at. What? Because you actually don't, sometimes if you don't write it, you overspend it, and you will just be surprised where you actually spent your money. I don't know about you guys. Probably you have asked yourself, where did my money go? Exactly the answer. So what I do, guys, is I only have one account where all my income is going, and then that's the same account that I use for spending. By the way, I'm talking about personal account, not on the business account, because the business account is a separate one. The business has its own. So that's the way that I can actually have control over my finances. And that's how I can see and actually, study how my spending habits are doing. So these are the things that can actually aid you guys on, just to look at where your expenses are. So this will be able to help you determine where you're spending your money most, So, and of course, not only that, this is also a way that you could see where you will be saving most, especially now. This is New Year. You will now see, last year I spent so much in restaurants. See? So now, because you are aware, now you would set a certain budget for restaurants for this year. If you spent money, $30,000 for restaurants last year, wow, that's a lot, Enrico. Believe me, try to look at your expenses, try to itemize it, and you'll be surprised. Oh my God, it's true, right? What I'm trying to say here is now you're aware what part of your spending habits that you will be cutting off. And that will now help you to start saving as well, So how do you do that? Well, you begin to start listing your fixed expenses first. So this is now categorizing it on a general perspective. You would want to look at it on a fixed expense. What are your fixed expense? Maybe your rent, your mortgage, maybe your car payments, and what have you. So you have to make sure that you know what your fixed expense are. These are the regular bills monthly bills that you will be paying. And you can include your utilities there as well. Now, after identifying your fixed expense, now you go to the next category. What is it? Your variable expenses. Yung hindi siya fixed. It just varies. So it's a variable expenses, and these are expenses that could change month to month, such as maybe groceries and your gas, your entertainment. So these are variable expenses. Maybe you would see, if you study your spending habits, if you're spending $1,000 for groceries in a month, so that's $250 every week. Probably this year, hey, you felt that that $1,000 is too much for you, for your budget. Maybe start putting, okay, let's just put $200 every week. So that's $800. So you're saving $200 every month. So in a year, that's additional $2,400 savings for you, if that makes sense, guys, right? So these things that I'm telling you about tracking your spending. These are areas where you might find opportunities, to start cutting back, or stop even spending. Another thing too, credit card and bank statements. You can actually go over it, just like what I'm doing, to start to look at your itemized or expenses, or you can actually categorize it, just like what I'm telling you. You would see my Excel file, groceries, restaurant, all of these expenses. You would see, oh my God, there's tons already. And I add them. I can see my spending habit right in front of me. So some people, they record daily spending. I cannot do that. That's why I just use one card, because that card, the statement actually records it for me, and I have something to go back into for a review, after 12 months. That's just what I do for my personal finance. But for businesses, I would probably tell, hey, if it's a home-based business, you will want to check it out every quarterly, or otherwise, you hire a bookkeeper to do this for you. So I'm telling you guys, it's going to be very, very efficient to have somebody work with you on that. So again, I was telling you, you can record daily spending, however which way you would want to put it in a note. You just notate all of your expenses. Get a pen, get a paper, or maybe get an app in your smartphones. Everybody's using smartphones nowadays. So there are a lot of applications out there that can actually be used for budgeting, or spreadsheets and templates. And you can find a lot of these things online. Okay, so that's the other thing that I can teach you how to start creating a budget. And the other thing too, speaking about creating budgets, you have to make sure that when you set it, it's going to be a realistic goal. No, just don't. Oh, this is the number. No, you want to position yourself that is actually realistic. Mamaya nag-set ka ng budget, yung pala wala na kayong kinakain. That's another story, guys, right? So it should be a realistic goal. And before you start, going through the information that you've tracked, the one that I told you a while ago, you also want to categorize it on a short, or you want to, have something like a goal, a short-term goal and a long-term goal. These are your financial goals. It can be short-term, it can be long-term. So short-term goals, mga kaibigan, should take around maybe 1-3 years, to be able to achieve it, because you are now going to set up goals, right? So what's your saving goal maybe? So realistically, you will want to save this certain amount of money in a year or 2, 3 years, right? And this is the things that will because it's realistic and it's achievable. Now you are able to execute it. So these things might include things such as emergency fund. We talked about that many times ago, or paying off debt, whatever your goals are. Setting up emergency funds, or paying down your credit card debt. Emergency fund, you guys know already. We mentioned that too many times here in the show. Maybe you could put a goal of equivalent to 3 months of your monthly salary. So $10,000 every month maybe. So your goal to build emergency fund of $30,000 maybe in 3 years. Something like that. So at least it's realistic. Oh, hey, Enrico, I can do that in 1 year. Yeah, you can even do it next month, right? But the point here is it should be a realistic goal. Or if you have credit to card debt, especially holidays just gone by, you may have incurred debt. You may want to plan on how to pay down this debt. Long-term goals, on the other hand, guys, such as savings for retirement or a child's education. These are all familiar terminologies that you probably have been doing it already. But it takes somebody to remind you again to stick into your goal or start your goals, such as in My Toolbox, of course, So this may take a long time, more than 1, 2, 3 years. It may take decades to be able to realize it. So remember, guys, your goals that you're going to put together, you don't have to set it just by yourself. Maybe get somebody like an accountability partner, your wife, or I don't know, get somebody that you consider as an accountability partner, so you are on the roll getting to your goals. So of course, identifying all of these goals, identifying the process of how to reach these goals will help you will motivate you. And of course, this will actually allow you to stick yourself within the budget because you have a goal to reach. With accountability partner or setting this strict way of executing your goals into fruition, it may be easier to for me, guys, it may be easier to cut spending, but if that you're saving for vacation, you might have more intention now to save, So you see, so for me, again, I'm going to go back to what I told you before. Gamify your financial plan. Okay. Speaking about plan, of course, you have to make a plan. When you create a budget, of course, guys, you make a plan. This is where everything comes together. What you're actually spending versus what you're actually spending versus what you want to spend. So those are two different things. Use the variable and fixed expenses that you compiled to get a sense of what you'll spend in the coming months. That's another thing, right? Then compare that to your net income and priorities. Diba? So let me just repeat that, guys. Okay, so you might want to put things together now. So everything that I told you since a while ago, what you are actually spending versus what you want to spend on. See, there's two different things. And you can actually use the variable and fixed expenses you compiled to get a sense of what you'll spend in the coming months. Ano ba itong fixed expenses ko? Oh, mortgage, Ano ba itong variable expenses ko? Oh, itong groceries, right? So, now you will see what you're going to be spending in the coming months. And then you compare your net income and your priorities. Consider setting specific, realistic spending limits for each of the category of expenses. I mentioned to you a while ago, kanina, di ba? A while ago. A restaurant, you spent $30,000 last year. Ang dami naman nun. Just for you to see, right? So now, you will want to put, hey, $5,000 this year only. Or $6,000 this year only. Meaning, I'll go to restaurants every month with a budget of $500. That's it. Instead of what? Spending $30,000 every year, now I'm spending $6,000. So, at least now you have the intentionality, you have a plan, now you're going to be executing it. Okay, so again, gasoline. Oh, I'm spending, $12,000 for gasoline. Now you might want to put $5,000. See, that's what it means by categorizing it and put a spending limit for each category. You might want to choose to break down your expenses even further between things you need, between the things that you need to have and things that you want to have. For instance, if you drive to work every day, and of course, gasoline counts as a need because you drive going to work. Or a monthly music subscription. However, how much what it is. The difference becomes important when you're looking for ways to redirect money to your financial goals. So nasa sa inyo yun, mga kaibigan. As long as, in the bottom line here, guys, is you would want to make a plan. Mga kaibigan, do you have a plan? Doon tayo magsisimula. You might want to ask yourself, do I really have a plan? What's my budget for the year? So yun yung mga yun eh. For this year, ang expenses ko, I have a take-home pay of $100,000. Let's look at saving 40% of that $40,000. So ang budget natin is $60,000 for this year 2023. So that's about $5,000 every month. I will put my might, my discipline to keep my budget $5,000. That's just how it works, right? So again, speaking about that strategy, adjust your spending to stay on budget. Again, Enrico, mukhang hindi kasya yung $5,000. Well, adjust your spending to stay on budget. That's the reason why we're talking about budget. Not just because you need it, you want to buy it already. Hey, it should be within the budget. What if hindi kasya? Well, you have to make it work. Now that you've documented your income and what your spending is, you can make any necessary adjustments, so that you don't overspend and have money to put towards your goal. For example, why would you go to South Premium Outlet just because? No, definitely, you're going to be spending there. Temptations is left and right. So that's going to be out of your budget. You didn't put that element of budget for that month to buy clothing, what have you, right? So that's exactly what I'm trying to say. You have to know your limit and stay within the budget. Okay, so you want to look toward your wants as the first. You want to look at your wants as the first area for the cuts. Or you want this, but it's not priority. Cut it out. Okay, or maybe you can skip a movie night in favor of watching movie at home. I love that's how I what do you call that, settle down every night. So I love watching movies really. But when you come to think of it, you go to a movie house, you pay $10, right? And then if there's 4 of you, that's $40. Probably you would want to just go Prime movies, where you pay $4 for everybody. So that's what it means by probably you can skip a movie night in favor of a movie in a house, in your home. So if you've already adjusted your spending on wants, now take a closer look at your spending on monthly payments, on close inspection as a need. Kanina want that you can actually get out of. Now you have to have a close inspection of what you need. Because this is, there should be a little part of that need that's going to be hard to get away from, right? But you still have to study it. So if the numbers still aren't, it's not adding up yet, look at adjusting your fixed expenses. Well, Enrico, we call it fixed expense already. Could you actually really do something about it? Well, for instance, save more by shopping around for a better rate on auto or homeowners insurance. There's a lot there. There's a lot of property and casualty companies out there that can actually give you a cheaper rate for auto or home insurance than the most popular ones. You might want to shop around. And there's nothing wrong, guys, to shop around every year for these types of insurance. And that's a good way of looking at how fixed expenses can actually, you can save on as well. So decisions on, of course, is on big trade-offs. So you just have to see, you have to study your insurances, by the way. What's in it for if I go to this plan and go to this package, etc. You have to really spend time in studying it, so you can actually make a careful study of your options. Remember, guys, even small savings, $1, $2, $3, it add up, and at the end of the day, it will become a lot of money. So you might be surprised on how much money that you can actually accumulate by making one minor adjustment. I play golf, so with my friends. So when we play golf, I tell them, sometimes, oh, this today when I play golf, I will just have a course management. Kita mo naman, because that's just, if you really would want to master it, you have to master yourself first. You need to know how you be attacking the whole, the whole 18 holes, right? So for me, it's the same thing as here. You might want to have minor adjustment at a time. So you would see how great that it will actually help you create that budget, And speaking about creating that budget, you have to review your budget regularly. Not because you already finished. Oh, Enrico, I'm done for the next 12 months. My budget is set. Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. Kudos to you. But you would want to review your budget regularly. Because once your budget is set, it is important to review it. And you're spending on a regular basis to be sure that you are actually what? Staying on track. We talked about that a while ago. Make sure that you stay on track, right? But, there you go. Few elements of your budget are set in stone. The others, there might be some, occasion that it may change a little bit beyond your control. So, your expenses may change, or you may reach a goal and want to plan for a new one. These are just circumstances, just creating a budget and executing it. And you would see definitely, oh, this is not according to plan, but it's working very well. I think I need to do adjustments here. That's the time. And that's exactly why you want to review your budget regularly. So whatever the reason is, guys, you have to get into the habit of regularly checking, with the budget that you already have. Mga kaibigan, so yun lang po. That's exactly what I have for us for this New Year episode. It's all about creating a budget. And I hope you guys started with the right foot for 2023. But don't worry, we have the whole 2023 in My Toolbox is gonna be here guiding you every step of the way. Mga kaibigan, hanggang sa susunod na episode again. My name is Enrico Pobre. Magandang gabi!